Hey everybody, welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. Before we get started today, I want to share a bit about Jane, our show's sponsor. Jane is a complete practice management software that can help you navigate your practice with day-to-day ease and flexibility. Every single feature is carefully created with you in mind, meaning simple scheduling, streamlined billing, and faster charting. What I love most about Jane, aside from the online scheduling and intake and the easy insurance billing, is how easy daily notes are. You can simply free type your asterisk signs, you can take a picture of your body chart or a picture of your whiteboard for the Therax you're doing out in the gym, and there's already a spot in Jane for you to put that in, which means less time documenting, more time helping patients, and more time doing what you want outside of normal clinic hours. If you want to learn more about how Jane can support your practice, head on over to jane.app/physicaltherapy, and if you're ready to get started, you can mention the PT on Ice Daily Show when you sign up for a 1 month free grace period to help you in your transition to Jane. Enjoy today's episode of the PT on Ice Daily Show.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Dr. Alexis Morgan, and I am one of two lead faculty with clinical management of the fitness athlete, pregnancy, and postpartum. Good morning. We are really excited this upcoming weekend. We're going to be headed out to Greenville, South Carolina. There are a few spots available. So if you're interested in joining that live course, we would love to have you. And we've got several upcoming, one a month, almost through the end of the year there. So we've got a lot of live courses. If you want to hit us up on the road, we would love to have you. We're having a blast with this new live course. And would really just love to see you out on the road. We've also got our online cohort. We are about a month away from the next one filling out as well. So the next one starts April 26th, and that is our 8-week online cohort. So that's kind of our courses that are upcoming in this division. And for this morning, I just wanted to quickly hop on here and talk about just the changes that occur during someone's first trimester. So oftentimes, many of us will have clients who we're seeing who become pregnant, maybe during a current plan of care that we're going with them through, knee pain or back pain or something like that. Many of us are experiencing that. Many of us are going to work out alongside individuals in their first trimesters. And then you may also be like me and have clients coming to you for their pregnancy and postpartum concerns. And for any of these reasons, you are probably going to be talking with an individual who is pregnant in their first trimester. And there's actually a lot of changes that occur in the first trimester. I think a lot of people think of pregnancy as a more mechanical thing. And so mechanically their bodies change, right? And so they really don't think about the first trimester really having any significant changes, or they're really not expecting a whole lot. They may expect some nausea because that's what they've heard, or some morning sickness, emphasis around the morning, because sometimes that can happen at all times. Um, and so I think it's important for us to recognize some of these physiologic kind of chemical changes that occur in that first trimester, and then we can educate our clients on that. Because a lot of these factors that are changing, they actually do influence the way that the person is working out, or the energy that they feel in going to the gym. And so it can really change kind of some of their, or it could impact rather some of their goals and some of their expectations of themselves as an athlete, now a pregnant athlete. Um, and it's really challenging too, because the first trimester, they're starting to identify as that pregnant athlete within themselves. but they're likely not telling anyone. And so they're undergoing all these changes and it's quiet. They don't have a large support network. Um, Now that's kind of me blanketing that situation. There are many individuals who are choosing to share early, or to share as soon as they find out, maybe with more of their inner circles, so that they can have that support if this pregnancy does wind up ending in a miscarriage. They would be able to have some support along the way. So that aspect kind of depends, and you can empower an individual to make that decision for what they need. But let's talk a little bit about what happens in the first trimester. So the the fetus is at initially, as a sperm meets egg, it turns into the size of a poppy seed, kind of at the beginning, and then at the end of the first trimester, gets as large as like a lemon. So there's that's a decent amount of change as far as that kind of that mechanical, that expansion of the fetus, of the uterus. Um, and so that's just always kind of interesting, just to kind of visualize that. But one of the biggest things that occurs is the heart rate. So if you wear a whoop or you track your heart rate in any way, you're probably going to see, or the athlete is going to see, that that resting heart rate actually raises by about 10, 15, maybe even up to 20 beats per minute. So that's a decent amount, particularly if the athlete maybe doesn't have a super duper low heart rate, like maybe an endurance athlete would. If their heart rate is in, the 60s, then that could bump all the way up to 70, 75, maybe even 80 at rest. And so you think about just like how much effort that is in their day, when at rest their heart is already working harder because there's more blood volume, there's more work that the heart has to do to get the blood pumped out. There's so much work there, and that's just at rest. And then they go into exercise and they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm already tired, extremely tired, and we're not even done with the warm up. And this can often make people feel like they've totally lost all their fitness. It can make them feel out of shape or lazy. I've heard a lot of people describe this, in some kind of negative tones, not fully understanding all of those changes that occur kind of on the back end of increasing blood volume by almost 50%. And that occurs in by week 2. So there's actual reasons behind why the individual feels the way they feel. And sometimes they just need to kind of understand that, and that it's not that they're just out of shape. Kind of along these same lines, so the heart gets impacted tremendously. The lungs do as well. So we know, like, later on, the lungs are getting impacted, the diaphragm is getting impacted, therefore there's not as much lung capacity, and that's later on because of the massive changes within the abdominal cavity. But earlier on, um, there's about 30% more oxygen that's required for someone in their first trimester. So not only is that resting heart rate higher, and it gets higher, even higher, or to their max much easier, but it's also way more important and way more difficult for them to get enough air, to get enough oxygen. So all of these things may be kind of slowing them down a little bit in the gym, and that's if they're getting in, and they're getting staying consistent in the gym. One of the things that can be really, really challenging for someone to get into the gym is the nausea. And many people think that it's only going to be occurring in the morning. I alluded to this earlier, but this can occur at any time of the day. And for some people, it may kind of stack up in the evening or kind of after a busy day. That's not for everyone, and that's not necessarily backed by literature, but just kind of anecdotally from what I've seen. And so some people may find that they want to change the time of day that they're going to exercise. And some people find that they are exhausted, they are so nauseous, and they can't quite get the energy to get to the gym and get into class, or they fear that if they go to class, they're going to be in the bathroom, in the gym bathroom the entire time. And so we start to see these athletes kind of backing sometimes away from going to the gym. And so it can be really challenging because again, they're going through all these physical changes. Many of times their support system is at the gym and then they're backing away. For some individuals who are working out at home, that still can be impacting them because they're not, again, like they're just feeling like they're going to vomit anytime they're leaning over to pick up those weights or anytime they're laying backwards. So it can be really impactful. And so it's really important to recognize that, especially if someone is vomiting and is vomiting a lot, um, their their caloric intake has likely changed for the negative. And so they're not going to have as much energy for when they are maybe ready to go to the gym, or they're mentally, or I'm sorry, physically not having that nausea. They may be there physically, but their energy levels may be low from all of these changes. And so again, giving the athletes permission to change their exercise early on if they need to. So yeah, there's no physical changes of the body, as far as of the belly rather, but if they feel like they just need to go in and do like the simplest, the foundational or the basics of that workout, they can do that, because it's important to get and keep them moving. And sometimes athletes will feel like, well, if I can't do it all, then I'm just not going to go. And so that kind of all or nothing. So introducing that gradient of exercise just to help get them in can be really important. A few more points here. Pending the number of pregnancies one has, they may or may not be showing very much. Um, and so, oftentimes, people with second or third pregnancies don't realize that they're not going to look the same as they did during their first. So, once you've been pregnant, that first pregnancy, your body has not really stretched out to that capacity ever. So your body doesn't really know what to do, and it's kind of it's slow oftentimes to show. But then those second and those third trimester, I'm sorry, second or third pregnancies, their bodies have already been through that. It kind of understands and knows is kind of how I describe it to people. And so their tissue tolerance, it's just much faster to have that kind of that baby bump. And so many people don't recognize those differences, which can be can be mentally challenging. And that's kind of my last point here, is that um, in the first trimester, they may gain somewhere around 5 pounds. Obviously, that's can totally fluctuate with individuals, but they're starting to recognize that, as an athlete who oftentimes identifies with their body and what their body can do physically, starting to see a scale change can be really challenging for an individual. And so I'm going to have that conversation early with them, because this is just the beginning of body changes. It continues all the way through pregnancy. And then, of course, we know postpartum, there's so many changes as well. And so If someone needs an additional care support team, then we're going to go ahead and set that up, whether that's mental health, nutrition, um, it, getting their OB involved, and that kind of thing. So, there's a lot of changes that occur in the first trimester. There are physical changes, they're kind of those chemical changes, and then there's a lot of mental changes that go on as well. And that can be really challenging for an individual as their identity is changing, and it may be changing kind of independently or with a very small support network while they're in that first trimester. So it's really important for us to come alongside them and educate them that these physical changes are happening for a reason. You're tired because you're growing a lot of new things in your body, a placenta, a fetus, like so many things are occurring. Blood volume is dramatically increasing. Therefore, your heart is working harder, your lungs are working harder. Everything is working harder in your body right now. So it's okay to be tired, and it's okay to feel like you don't want to go 100% at the gym right now. So, educating and coming alongside our clients is going to help them maximize this first trimester as much as possible. Let me know what you think. If you guys are also coming alongside your athletes during that first trimester, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So leave a comment below and we'll have that conversation. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.